really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
That's why it's really important to have a plan. Have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this DJ?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Mr. Will Stevenson, you are on mute, but...
God damn it, I'm muted. Hey, we do it live, baby. We do it live, so I'm going to start that over again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, we are live with this here 25th episode of Book Club, where we're going to be covering SciVive chapters 7, chapters 8, and chapters 9, which barely even count as chapters on their own. I think chapter 7 was like an hour and some chains, and like chapter 8 was basically like, hey, I'm Richard Hart and I know some stuff about keyboards. And then chapter 9 was like just a fart in the wind, and it was super fucking fun. But that's what we're going to be covering tonight, folks. That's what we're going to be covering tonight. So I have with me my fantastic panel, and Nate and Mrs. McGettit will be joining us as well at some point. They are literally rolling up to my location right now. I believe that they're pretty much set to arrive at any point in time. So if you see me hop up from the chair and be like, hey, what's up, motherfucker? It's because he has physically arrived and will be cracking some drinks and probably having a good bit of fun and everything. But before Nate arrives, let's go ahead and introduce the rest of my panel, starting with my fantastic co-host. We got Mr. Zenith. Bro, what is going on? What's new and exciting with you? And what did you think about these last 3 chapters of this fantastic book that I know you have enjoyed so much?
Good to see you as always. I'm having a great Friday over here. Just got back from the gym, and it was more of a feel-good workout. Did some bench, did some curls, did some shrugs, you know, trying to get all the vanity muscles, but that's neither here nor there. I am excited. I think this might actually be our second to last SciVive chapter if we keep this pace, because we only have one more numbered chapter, and then if you follow the SJ version, there is technically a little like bonus thing, but as of right now, we're near the end. I felt like it was going to take a while to get here, but we're getting there. But yeah,
as far as I knew, there was only 9 chapters. I didn't know there was another one.
There's another one for me.
Oh, fucking A. Well, son of a bitch. I don't know anything about this chapter 10, so I guess I'll have to do a little bit of Googling. But my understanding was that SciVive was 9 chapters, 10 if you include the intro. And yeah, that's it. But anyways, we're going to move past that. We're going to move right along to our next panelist, guest appearing, my fantastic brother who has just done his first giveaway for his channel over there on Bungalows for Bachelors, Mr. Sam Stevenson. What's going on, bro? What's new and exciting with you, and what did you think about this little bit of SciVive?
Hello, brother. I don't think I'm muted. Man, what's going on with me?
That's right.
I am stopped by a train right now on the road in the middle of Wyoming. It's a beautiful place. It's a cool thing. I just did a $400 giveaway on my channel. Some wonderful, actually, Team Jenna is going to decide what to do with $400 for tool buying or whatever. So that's exciting. And man, the last little bit of this book is just like kind of like you said, just like rounds out like the image that I have of Richard Hart in my head. So like I don't have much else to say aside from that, but I'm looking forward to getting into the conversation, that's for sure.
Excellent, excellent. And then finally joining us, we have Farmer Jay, the fantastic farmer over there on the 405. How are you doing, brother? What's new and exciting with you? And what do you think about it?
I'm doing great. Didn't know what the hell Richard was talking about, but hey, we'll discuss it.
Hell yeah, man.
Cheers,
excellent.
fellas.
Fuck yeah, bros. Cheers, mates. I got me some Mick Ultra here. So the superior or scan for superior access, they got little QR codes on them for the folks at home. By the way, I forgot to say this to Mrs. Producer, but we were informed on our last show that the QR code actually does not work anymore. So that's interesting. I wonder how long that's been the case, because we've been chilling that bitch for a hot minute. So I wonder what's going on with that. But anyways, if you guys want to join the DGen Roundtable, then go to t.me/DRT join now, and that will take you right on into the DGen Roundtable community chat. Let me make sure that I'm not talking out of my ass here. Yep, that's correct. t.me/DRT join now. And I'm going to paste that in the chat for the folks at home who are wishing to join the DGen Roundtable community. I'd be surprised if any of you guys listening aren't already in it. But for those of you who this is your first time either seeing us live or catching us on the replay, t.me/DRT join now. It's in the live chats. It's in the live chats, or which way? That's where I point. It's in the live chats if you guys are scrolling around and having a good time. But that's what's going on. We're going to go ahead and hop right on over to the very favoritist, first, and bestest part of the show, which you guys all know to be chat motherfucking shout outs. We're going to do some goddamn chat shout outs. We're going to talk about the community. We're going to talk about whoever's talking about whatever they're talking about in the chats. So, Mr. Producer, by the way, guys, Zenith is producing since Mrs. McGettit is on the road right now. So big shout out to Mr. Producer, Captain Zenith, or Lieutenant Zenith, or First Class Zenith, or I forgot whatever you're, but you're a civilian now. You're in the Civ Div, baby. So, Mr. Zenith, would you go ahead and bring up our first chat in the starred area? We're going to give a shout out to Mr. Kendurian54X. Happy Friday, DGens, is what he is saying. Happy Friday to you too, good sir, over there chilling out on your tractor, doing your farm and stuff, flying your little airplanes around and things. Happy fucking Friday to you, broski. I'm glad to have you over. And then next up, we got Tam Tam. Hey, fam. Good to see you, Tam Tam. Number one DGen Roundtable cheerleader in the house. Let's go. We've also got Farmer Brown. We've also got Farmer Brown, Farmer J, and we've got Zenith, and we've got me, obviously. So that's it for the chat shoutouts for today, or at least not today, but for this morning. And we're going to go right on ahead and transition on over into talking about some things.
Bro, we got one more for you.
Oh, we got one more. Oh,
snuck
shit,
in at the last moment.
Mind of Tron. Look at that. You just barely made the chat shoutouts, bro. Mind of Tron says happy Friday. Happy Friday to you too, good sir, Mind of Tron. This is going to be, I guess, our either last or our second to last covering of SciVive. I'm not sure which. It's all kind of a mystery.
It's a blur.
Yeah, we'll see what else they have going on in the rest of that SciVive zone. But that's what we're doing right now. So let me pull up my super duper cool notes from the Telegram, and we're gonna. Oh man, this is fucking kick ass. Dude, you guys put so many good comments in here. Oh, this is fantastic. All right, so real quick, panelists, I'm going to drop a link in the chat for. Oh, and also anybody else who's on the anybody else who is watching live, if you guys want to hop on over to t.me/DGen Book Club /491, that will put you right into the topic of our chat tonight, which is the book club number 25, SciVive chapters 7, 8, and 9. I've got a shit ton of quotes in here that I thought were pretty cool. Zenith wrote a whole bunch in here that I read a couple of them and I was thinking they were pretty cool. So whichever ones that I see reacted to the most on this little notes thing is going to be the stuff that I'm going to use to direct the course of this show. So if you guys see anything in here that seems super duper awesome, then go ahead and throw up an emoji in any of them. And Sam, since you're driving, what I'm going to do right now for both you and for the folks at home is I'm going to read off. Let's see if I can read off all of these without stuttering them up and or stuttering and fucking them all up. But if you see if I'm saying anything that sounds cool to you, Sam, then give me like a physical thumbs up, and I'll be able to see in my peripheral vision which ones sound the coolest, and those are the ones that we'll focus on talking about. But as just kind of a general overview for the people who didn't read SciVive, these are some of the most memorable quotes that I, Zenith, Mrs. McGettit, and some of the other folks. Actually, yeah, just me, Zenith, and Mrs. McGettit start up. So first off, spend 100 hours expressing yourself through typing rather than spending 100 hours practicing meeting with typing tests. Oh, I probably miswrote meeting there. So the idea of this quote is if you're going to practice doing something, then you should practice doing something that's valuable rather than practicing. Oh, that's supposed to be meaningless, not meeting. So what Richard was saying is like, if you want to practice your typing, then you should practice like writing an essay that means something rather than like practicing writing the same word over and over and over again. So, oh shit, we got Paul Sachs also joining. Shout out to you, Paul Sachs. 14 pulses, men. Always aim for it. I'm not sure what that means, but you got it, broski. We'll aim for 14 pulses. I like it. So that is the first quote that we got right there. Second quote is, not everyone seeks a solution to their problem. I'm going to emoji that one. Cool beans. The worst pen and paper is better than the best memory. That's one that I'm quite sure Richard has not come up with himself. I've heard that many times before. For $1 million, it is very easy to make people think that you are not cool anymore and divorce you. Move to where people you are attracted to are in order to feel better and be happier more. Cheating is the gift that man gives himself. I'm going to star that one. We don't need more knowledge. We need more people doing things. And that one was starred by Kenturian.
Hey, Will, I'm going to jump in here real quick with you.
What's up?
So the ones we're reading right now, these are all quotes from the time chapter. So just to give a quick little bit of context to the folks at home, the chapters that we're covering tonight are time, space, and experience. Experience is the very short one. Time is the big one. So before we get too far into these ones, when you were reading the time chapter, because we're starting here, what would you say was like the key thread through all of it?
Oh, don't waste your fucking time.
I would wholeheartedly agree. And Richard really goes into a bunch of ways that you either waste your time or that other people waste your time. If anybody's watched Richard Hart streams previously, he has had many a tirade talking about how video games are designed to try to get you addicted and waste your time. And he absolutely hates that. And it also comes out in this chapter too. I do kind of enjoy it, but at the same time, he does also give the flowers to some people when they deserve it. But yeah, with that being said, let's keep going. Let's talk about the ways that you either waste your time or spend it efficiently.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try not to waste your guys' time as much as possible and go through these things quickly then. So, the pain of anticipating the work goes away when you start the work. The difference between successful people and very successful is that the latter says no to almost everything. There is more positive feedback arguing on the internet than writing a book. Knowledge is only as useful as its application. I'm going to star that one. Don't be a degenerate gambler with your time. I'm going to star that one too. Model great behavior that gets great results. Too many choices is often worse than too few. There are no unhealthy foods, only unhealthy diets. I'm going to star that one. Fire is a tool that can be used to cook your food or burn down your neighbor's house. I think that he was talking about something. Oh, no, that ties into the unhealthy foods one, so I'm going to skip over that. It is most likely that you're going to die of some boring stuff. Starring that one too. Luckily, the world is oh my goodness, excuse me. Lucky for you, the world is lazy, so the bar is not high regarding the standards for most things. You don't see a lot of young kids worrying about politics, and you don't see a lot of 40-year-olds worrying about doing BMX bicycle tricks. Oh, and then so at this point, I renamed the book because I was like, man, there's no fucking way that I'm just going to listen to this one chapter and not listen to these other two chapters that are like a couple minutes each. All right, next. Pull your pants up. If your crotch is too low, you will trip. Never commit more than one crime at a time. Have you noticed that as our camera and recording technology gets better, there is less and less reported sightings of Bigfoot? Don't live and die having never seen the world. If you don't know where to find the idea, then you don't have it. All energy comes from the sun. When you take drugs, you screw up what the emotional programming has in store for you. Your relationship with drugs should not differ from your relationship with any potential danger. I wrote aside. I think I meant to write like tool there or something, but I was also driving while texting when I was writing these. I was using voice to text. You are supposed to execute a certain behavior in order to win the response from your hormonal system. Imagine monkeys sitting around looking at pictures of each other's butts on the internet. That is porn. The march of technology continues. And then Zenith wrote, hobbies are a time sink. You'd be surprised how few you can actually have. Claims that there are only 200 hobbies. Testing new and cool stuff can be a way to help build positive habits easier by engaging in fun. Don't learn things that you don't use. Ooh, that's a good one. I'm fucking starring that one. Being on the cutting edge of things will make you bleed. Get your minimal valuable product. I'm not sure I understand that one, but can you explain that one, Zenith?
Yeah, so this was Richard Hart was talking about entrepreneurship and business ownership and trying to launch things, which is that you want to get your minimal viable product first and then focus on improving it after that. Because the point is that you want to have something that you're able to launch and test as opposed to shoot for perfection and then just keep delaying and delaying and delaying. I think early on in the chapter, Richard talks about this, which is the idea that like analysis paralysis is very real, and it can come in many different forms. It can either come in you trying to make decisions or doing research, or it could do with building, like in this case, which is that once you have something viable, Richard is saying you should probably just launch it and then keep going from there. Because other than that, you're just always going to give up practicality chasing perfection.
Okay. Yeah. So like 80% solution and then hone as you go. I like that.
Yep.
All right, excellent. Then he has the concept of rolling versus sliding friction. Richard hates video games that waste your time. In entrepreneurship, becoming a jack of all trades must come before deep diving into improvement. I agree with that. Life is not infinite, so you walk a fine line between enjoyment and savings, a fine line between spending and saving. That's good. I'm starring that one.
Yeah, that is my last one for the time chapter. All the other ones are the other two.
Did you listen to the Wild SJ one, or did you listen to Ann Hex, the Crypto Space?
I listened to the SJ one.
Okay, that's good. I like that we have this dual-sidedness.
Well, I like the SJ one because what was that quote? The cheating is the gift a man gives to himself. She actually clips the portion of the Simpsons episode. And she
yeah.
So it's like Mr. Burns. It's Mr. Burns telling Homer that. So like that was kind of like a little thing she threw in there. She clipped that from the Simpsons.
That was funny.
Excellent. Yeah. Shout out to SJ wherever you are right now. I think she's doing karate or something. I remember she's like can't make the book clubs anymore because doing karate.
Dude, I'm pretty sure she's traveling Europe right now with RG3.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, she's been posting a lot of great pictures of her trips. She's in some like really, really cool spots.
Okay, kick ass. Yeah, I know they're fixing to do their little pulse chain tour over there. So big shout out to our friends Wild SJ and RG3. They are fucking pillars of the Hex and pulse chain community. Go check them out over on pulsechaintour.com and also check out RG3's show Discourse Syndicate, where he does Chatting with the Captain. He does the F and Hangout on Friday nights, and they do a whole bunch of other things cool. I think they even have like Czechoslovakian streams from time to time. So shout out to the Czechs, or not Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic. They have Czech streams. So that's pretty cool stuff. We're going to move right along though and get some more of these quotes in. Privacy online and on devices is damn near non-existent. The crypto community can solve this in the future, but we are not there yet. So yeah, that's you know what? I believe pretty strongly in that. I'm going to fire emoji that one. Mechanical cherry brown keys. What the hell does that mean, Zenith?
That is the specific type of keyboard that Richard called out. That is in the chapter that is like how to use computers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh shit, they're here.
Yeah, so the people that know what that is know what that is. And if you're just trying to get into a mechanical keyboard, it's the kind of keys, and it specifically talks about like the sound that it makes, and then also like the button press feel, because some of them, when they get to the bottom, they'll do like that drop and you get that tangible like chunk feel. And then I don't know why, but some insane person made a mechanical key that specifically sounds clicky because they wanted to imitate like a typewriter or like an old 70s or 80s keyboard of something. Shit. And it is the most obnoxious thing you can ever type on.
That's fucking hilarious. Okay, next up we got, as technology has gotten better, we see less photos of Bigfoot and UFOs, so we agreed on that one. Also, Zenith, get ready to take over for me because I'm going to be welcoming Nate home here pretty soon.
Yes, sir,
I will read the end of this little section that you got all the way up to 413, and then I'm going to run over real quick, say hi, and then get right back and see what we can do for streaming things. All right, quick hacks for using computers faster and more efficiently. And even when people don't need to, they will try to find and adhere to order. So, Zenith, I'm going to toss it off to you, and I'm going to go say hello to Nate, and I will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you guys got it for now.
Sounds good. Alrighty, tell you what, that is pretty much he damn near read all the quotes that we pulled out. So I want to toss it over to the boys.
Well. Oh, sorry.
Will, you are not muted.
Oh, we got Nate right here. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's up?
Hey, we are live right now, dude. So
Alrighty, I'm gonna toss it over to the boys and see what is going on with them. So, what'd you guys take away from the time chapter? Any big moments that stood out to you?
I think just like I think it was Will that said it, that like all the stuff we do to waste fucking time. But I mean, one of my favorite quotes was cheating is the gift you give to yourself. If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
That was an interesting quote for sure. On a logical standpoint, I can understand it. However, I don't think it makes for great societies if you're just telling everybody to cheat all the time.
And I don't mean as in cheating as an unethical way, but more as a like try to give yourself the advantage over the next person. Maybe without without screwing them over. We could try to do that better. Like you said, when everybody tries to cheat, it doesn't make a good society. Like you said,
it completely removes the playing field.
Yeah,
is what happens when you do that.
Yeah, and another great quote from that chapter is that putting stuff on paper is actually way better than keeping it on your mind. I found that myself that when I try to remember stuff, like I stress myself out trying to remember what I have to do with this stuff. But once I put it on paper, it goes off my mind, and now I can actually physically see it. So I usually like to write stuff down, especially when it comes to like crypto and stuff or like projects to look into. Like when I hear somebody talk about something interesting, I like to write it down, what chain it's on, who suggested it, and what their quick thoughts were about it. So I can look like instead of trying to remember when my next DCA comes by, oh, how about I look at this? No, I already have my notes here. I can quickly have a look if it's something I'm still interested in.
I like it. I think the quote specifically around this one was that the worst pen and paper is still better than your memory alone.
It is.
Yeah, and I tell you, I am a full believer that it might be a trick from my junior officer days back in the military, but I think I literally have probably 20 plus notebooks that I have filled up, whether it's work stuff, personal, study for courses, whatever that is. Like,
can you show me the one where you have your keys on?
It may be one of them, but you do not get that part. Yeah, no, I think
there you go. I like Paul's comment right now. Is it cheating or is it a strategy?
Hey, he's not wrong. Good strategy. Well, I guess cheating is more of breaking the rules of engagement. The saying is that all is fair is in love and war, which is that if the end goal is literal life and death, there's not really rules. But I sit down to play chess with you, we're playing chess and we're not playing checkers, so we should probably stick to the rules of chess. So, I mean, yeah, it's more of a sentimental thing, I would agree, which is that if you are really involved in something, you should be trying to put everything into it and try to pull out all the stops and come up with everything possible. And yeah, it's kind of the idea like, look, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, which means you clearly don't want it bad enough that you're willing to go outside the lines a little bit. So morally, cheating is not great for society building, but at least the sentiment of the quote is like, you got to be in it to win it, and you got to want it bad enough that you're willing to maybe like compromise a little thing here and there. I'm not saying that's good, but I'm saying it's the sentiment of it. Sam, I see you're off mute. What you got?
Yes, sir. So I was thinking one of the things that popped up in those quotes was the idea of don't practice things that you don't want to be good at. That's a very not that you don't want to be good at, but like things that are not useful to you. Like what came to mind was like, hey, for myself, I've spent a lot of time drawing plans for houses. I have probably spent more time than I should drawing plans for houses that will never exist for myself because I kind of wanted to learn. But I would argue that like in business, especially, one of the best ways to spend your time, like you don't go do a bunch of work for a non-billable project. Does that make sense? Like if you need to learn a skill, you wait until a project comes up that demands that skill, and then you learn it on billable time. Right?
That's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah,
I
it's like
think,
a business way of framing it.
yeah, I think in the trades, one of my older journeymen told me once, you just fake it till you make it. So they put you on a project, just while you're learning it, you're getting paid, and you just pretend like you know what you're doing.
That's very true. So when you brought this one up, I was like, this sounds very much like some classic Richard isms, which is that, in my opinion, there's a few topics that he usually comes back to in some sort of like euphemism, which is stop wasting your time and stop trying to reinvent the wheel. So in this one, it's like, if you focus on things you don't care about, you're getting better at things that don't matter. So instead, the inverse is obviously spend your time and your focus doing the things that you want to do. Unfortunately, I think part of just like existing in today's society and day and age is that you kind of have to get good at a lot of things you really don't care about, or things that might not be super tangible to you. Like for instance, like running the streams, we want to obviously put out the best product possible to everybody. However, having an 80% solution is going to get you a long ways, a lot farther than all the time that I spent in trying to learn like XLR mics, audio mixing, all the different like voice meter stuff that I use. There's so much that you do just to kind of like meet this like barrier threshold of like competence in so many different areas that are not your primary focus in life. So don't waste your time where you can, but at the same time, really try to hone and focus it in at where you want your stuff.
Yeah, I would
All right.
even add to that like people aren't, probably most of the time, they're not going to care about the extra 20%, probably because they're not even going to notice that it's not there.
Bingo. Yep.
Go ahead.
Mr. Will Stevenson, I see you are back.
Yes, I am back. All right. I just caught up on the chat things. Yeah, chapter synopsis would have been better than direct quotes. Yeah, you're fucking right. I'm not doing that again. Glad that we're done with all that. What is the topic of conversation right now?
We are going around passing some quotes around for the time chapter. Farmer was talking about the you ain't cheating, you ain't trying quote, and then Sam was talking about the quote, saying that if you focus on things, whatever you focus on, you're going to get good at. So don't focus on bad things or immaterial things to your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we were just beating up. I was going to say, one of the ones that I got, it is a good one. One of the bigger ones that I got out of it was the in entrepreneurship, becoming a jack of all trades must come before deep diving into improvement. And it's this for me was the idea that if you are trying to operate something on your own, you gotta at least get something off the ground before you can start improving it. It goes back to the other one we were talking about earlier, but in this one, this came first in the chapter. And in my mind, this one stood out to me because Sam and I can attest to this one as engineers, which is that we live in a very hyper niche, hyper focused world where people are very much rewarded for deep diving into specific professions. And then through the beauty of supply chains, everything with the modern world, including communications, transportation, all the technology involved in it, it allows people to cover for each other so that not everybody's having to redo the same thing or reinvent the wheel. It's like we all don't have to grow our own food. Like I can focus on engineering, you can climb the towers, Farmer can do the construction stuff, and then we'll just use the funds that we get from what we have to get everything else that we are not covering ourselves.
Yeah, we're all niched down in things.
Exactly. But to kind of take it a step back, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you kind of got to go a different strategy, which is that you have to actually be able to cover all your bases, because the thing that you're trying to do is run the business. And that includes all the features of the business. You can hire people to do stuff and be part of the team, but at the end of the day, as the owner operator, it does fall on you to make sure that everything is covered and everything is operational before you start really going hard in one specific area.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that it applies that a lot of people take the idea of specificity a little bit far in other realms of life, when being a jack of all trades, master of none would probably be more beneficial. Like especially in the worlds of like pursuing relationships and stuff, you want to have like a solid basis of all of the things that people find attractive, rather than just like hyper focusing on one thing of any sort of specificity. That's what comes to mind. in that regard. I want to toss it. So I want to hear what Farmer Jay's thoughts are on the if you're not cheating, you're not winning, because I think I missed out on some good stuff right there. Can I get like a quick synopsis, Farmer Jay, on what what your opinions were on that? Because I'm betting it was a little bit spicy.
Well, I thought it was just kind of funny and a hilarious thought about it, and you can also use it like as a strategy, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be that cheating is evil. Maybe trying to use an unfair advantage that other people don't have or haven't discovered.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what my thought was about it. That there's kind of like a thin, but there's a thin line on where morality comes into play when you're cheating, right? What's completely wrong? Like if you're screwing somebody, then I don't think that's okay. But when you use things like to take advantage of information that it's not known, like Nancy Pelosi, on the stock market, then then sometimes, like I said, it's a thin line. But I don't necessarily think that cheating is completely wrong. But
yeah,
there are times when I find that it's completely immoral.
I think I'm right there with you. And before we go too much further into this topic, I'm going to toss it over to our good friend, Mr. Nate McGettit. Nate, amigo, you just drove
Who's that
up
handsome man?
You just drove over to New Hampshire oh no, we've lost. Okay, we got him back. I was going to say, bro, you just drove over to New Hampshire all the way from Minnesota. And from what I understand, the car almost broke down. You guys are doing some craziness. You're sitting outside enjoying the beautiful view on the porch of the house right now, and it's looking fucking fantastic and things. How are you, broski? What's new and exciting with you? And then we're gonna throw you right into this conversation.
Oh, fun. Yeah, no, I've been I don't know if you can see it on here, but yeah, we got some mountain views and stuff over here. This has been absolutely fantastic to drive and everything. It's been a lot of fun, but I'll tell you what, it was 19 hours straight driving the first day, and then it's been like a good 11 hours straight the next day, and then literally just arrived, went up the freaking driveway, which is a wild ride.
Oh yeah.
And hopped right in here.
Dude, yeah, welcome to the wonderful state of New Hampshire. Did you have a chance to catch up at all on any of the SciVive chapter 7, 8, and 9?
We did. And actually talking about that whole cheating thing, I found that hilarious because I was thinking to myself, like, okay, Richard Hart kind of has a little bit of a point where it's like, if you can cheat and it's going to help you, I would almost see that as like, say, Chat GPT, right? Where it's like, yeah, you know what, you can sort of cheat automatically, bam, get everything taken care of. And it does a lot of legwork for you. But then it's like, you kind of take away from the reward a little bit if you're cheating and not actually getting the work done. Know what I mean?
We are flat out. Okay, there we go. There's Mrs. McGettit. Mrs. McGettit, are you going to be joining us for this one as well? I think she's trying to find the house.
She is currently on the porch right over there.
Okay, cool beans. Alrighty, excellent.
She said she'll shoot me a message when she wants to hop on. But other than this, I'm just trying to make sure we have everybody on stream tonight when they are ready to go.
Yes. Okay. This is fantastic.
View, by the way.
Dude, this place is great, man. This like New Hampshire is awesome. I love the Pacific Northwest. I love the mountains. Love the trees. It's fucking.
Yo,
fantastic.
The land is amazing out here. Like driving through it all, I saw a bear on the way out here. Literally just a few minutes that way. It's beautiful out here.
Like signs everywhere, like moose crossings and things. Yo, dude, I wanna touch up a little bit on what you're talking about with the cheating, and I wanna kind of twist it and rephrase it a little bit as I'm known to do. I don't look at cheating as cheating. I look at cheating as just taking advantage of tools that are available that other people decide not to use. Like I'm a big fan of the whole like all's fair in love and war. Like there is no unfair advantages. There's just people who will have like scruples over doing certain things or other things. And in reality, like the de facto truth is whoever wins and whoever survives and whoever reproduces, those are the guys that get to write the history. So it's like, I don't know. I don't put any of like the judgment bias. I just say that like, it's kind of like to refer back to the fire quote from earlier. You can either use a fire to burn your house down, or you could use a fire to cook your food and eat it and stuff. So like there's different there's different ways to approach things, and the judgment is based on the person using it and whether or not they're like abiding by the non-aggression principle, if they're like actively hurting other people, or if they're like hindering other people's rights to have a good life or something. I would say that the best like metric to check is like, are you overall making the world a better place and or getting your specific goals accomplished that get your thing done? And as long as you can answer those two questions like in a relatively positive frame of mind, then I'd say fuck it, fucking go for it. Everything's fair. You know, that's my own personal thoughts. Does anyone have any anything that would disagree with that? Zenith, it looks like, or judging by your body language, bro.
I'm gonna be goody two shoes here. So
it's not goody two shoes.
I'll try to be more specific. I'll try to be specific with it.
Excellent.
So when I imagine the phrase "you ain't cheating, you ain't trying," I imagine a UFC fight with Derek Lewis where he specifically kicked a guy in the groin because he was getting tired and wanted a break. And by the rule set, like, that is a foul. You're not supposed to do that. If you do it multiple times, you can get points taken away, and then that will take rounds, and eventually you lose the fight. However, it was an exploitation of the rules in an unintended manner, which is that the reason you have fouls is to dissuade people from doing them.
Yeah.
However, the guy found a way to utilize a foul and accept the punishment, which was a warning.
Yeah.
And giving his opponent a break when in fact he was the one that wanted the break. So something like that is what embodies like the "you ain't cheating, you ain't trying" thing.
Yeah.
Or the cheating is giving yourself a win. Was that it, Farmer J?
Yeah, but did it work? Did it
so
work?
he might, yeah, so he
It
might have
worked.
lost the fight, or he
It's
might
a-
have won.
it's a shady world out here. You know, sometimes you have to cheat to put yourself in a position to succeed. I don't agree with that. You know, you shouldn't be hitting a man down there under any circumstances.
Well, this is where you kind of get into a weird philosophical thing where you have to try to draw distinguishable lines between where good for an individual ends and where negative effects for a society or community at large begin. So to go back to the old Nancy Pelosi inside trading thing, it's like, is she harming anybody per se? Not really. However, she is engaging in an act that is illegal for other people and is not being prosecuted for it, largely due to societal and custom norms that we have regarding politicians and prosecutions and trading and stuff. There's ways to solve the issue, but that also requires rulemaking and going through a process to do the rulemaking. But until then, people are still going to continue to do things that they might have unique advantages to do. But at the same time, if we get to, I guess, a more egregious version of cheating, you can kind of look at the issue with rampant crime in the United States right now and how it can actively negatively affect in a community economically, to the point that because you're stealing, shops are going to lose revenue. They're going to be unsustainable. And then that store is going to be unable to stay in business. So now the person who was stealing has created an externality, not just for the business, but for all the other people in the community who were not cheating and playing by the rules. It's something like this where it's like, did the person who stole from the store technically gain? Yes, they did. However, at the same time, a bunch of other people lost out in slightly less tangible ways, which is that you no longer have access to your shop. Community trust is downgraded. You've theoretically created additional strain on emergency resources. And it's stuff like this where your gain is actually a bit of a larger net negative. However, at the same time, you got to ask yourself, like, where does the amount of people that you care about end? Because obviously you care about yourself. I would argue that you should care about your family, like your relatives, your parents, your children, if you have any, your spouse. Very much so. I would also argue that you should care about your friends as well and how you treat your friends. And then even a little bit further of an extension, I would argue, like, colleagues and professionals you work with, you don't have to be like care about their personal lives, but you should care about like not harming them. And then after that, I think the line gets pretty gray from there. However, at the same time, though, you have to understand that if you enjoy the things that you enjoy in the society, like the stores, the trust, the emergency services, being able to go out to your car and expect that nobody's stolen it. These are things that require trust in a society. And by cheating and repeatedly cheating, what you're doing is you're degrading the trust and you're degrading the system. So from the moral and like philosophic sense, like, yes, obviously cheating is bad, because if you want to start and operate inside of society and not just operate in barbarianism, then yeah, you have to have rules and you have to have that even playing field, and you have to have people to enforce it and stand by it. Going back to the original Going back to the original point, though, which is that the mantra or the spirit of you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. It's the idea that you're cheating in the sense of you are violating a meta, or you're using things in unintended ways. You are kicking your opponent in the balls because you are tired and you want the break, and you know that if an opponent gets cup checked, there's a 5-minute breather time for your opponent to recover. You just wanted that, so you've used a system that was designed to discourage it, but instead you're using it for a tactical advantage. It goes to the idea that you are trying so hard and working so hard to win that you are doing unorthodox things, twisting things on their heads, doing things that people have not previously talked about. It's that kind of stuff. So, like, society-wise, like, yes, cheating is bad. You will degrade society, and we have degeneracy and nothing nice anymore. However, on the micro level, like, yeah, have that creativity, have that gusto, and have the will to try to be scrappy and fight for your wins, because winning is worthwhile. Because if you're not there to win, what are you doing in the first place?
I want to hear Sam's question for you, and I've got
soapbox over.
I've got a quick. I got something just fun for you to chew on after Sam's done with this question.
So Zenith, hopefully I can like maybe send you on another soapbox here. So
oh God, no.
The whole thing that came to mind when you're talking about this is like, okay, there are people in the world that think that the rich are cheating by using the tax system to maintain their richness, right? But they're actually just using the system and the rules that are designed to do its job. Now, obviously, that is assuming they're not like actually breaking the rules or twisting them. But even the ones that follow the rules correctly, like people presume that as like sort of cheating. Like that's not fair. How can they have more money? All that stuff. What's your take on that?
Hold on.
That is a very general statement. I would argue that the people that are making that statement, they're not making the argument from that the person is cheating. It honestly, in my experience, has been more of an emotional appeal to the fact that they are losing and they feel bad about it. They see other people doing well, and crabs in the bucket must stay in the bucket.
Lucky or cheating. That's what it always is at all times for these types of people.
Yeah, and when it comes to taxes, sorry, Will, I keep cutting you off. Go for it, man.
August 6th, 1945. Something happened on that day in Hiroshima, Japan.
Yes, the U.S. created the most efficient rice cooker in existence.
Would you say that was fair? Would you say that was cheating?
Was that cheating?
Was that cheating? That's my counter to everyone
that's not
talking
cheating.
Talking about cheating is like, hey, let's go kill some civilians, bro.
Okay, this is if you actually are you just trying to
purposeful? I'm trying to corner you, dog.
Is this a cheap shot, or do you actually want to get into the morals and ethics of warfare?
Bro, this is totally a cheap shot. I'm having some fun here. So like it's designed to make people think about things a little bit differently. That's all.
Sure, we can do that, but I'll hit you back with this, which is that the atomic bomb situation should try to end World War II is the epitome of the trolley problem, because the United States and the Allied forces were looking at trying to take mainland Japan, and they estimated that the death toll for both sides would literally be 1 million plus minimum. So the answer was, do we commit all these ground forces and all these resources, and we effectively spend all of these lives? Obviously, from the military ethical perspective, you are not spending lives to accomplish a mission. You are accomplishing a mission, and you set a maximum allowable casualties for your mission to be a success. So that is your 5 people on the train tracks. Now, the lever that Dr. Robert Oppenheimer made was if you pull this lever, you can cook an entire city in an instant. And it will be 70,000 people as opposed to 1 million. So I personally like this stuff, and I nerd out about it a little bit, which is that morally and philosophically, the idea of utilitarianism is the idea of maximizing or minimizing suffering and pleasure for certain people, so you get to an absolute number that you can calculate, which is like if you have a gladiator arena and you sacrifice one man for the entertainment of millions, does that mean that that action was moral or just? Well, if you use some sort of hard calculus like utilitarianism, you're going to arrive at the answer theoretically that yes, the betterment of other people's lives through their enjoyment, fulfillment, education, whatever, outweighs the negativity of that huge negative of a guy literally dying. So when you talk about these kinds of things, that's one of the ways to phrase it. But then also, my personal opinion is that the reason the United States of America is the unique special snowflake that it is because it treats individualism and personal responsibility on an equal playing field, which is that each human life has a theoretical, indefinite or infinite value on the moral sense. However, at the same time, you also have the ability to think rationally and operate rationally and logically, which is that you can weigh costs and benefits of everything going on. But at the same time, you also have to keep in mind that it comes from a religious background, which is that human life is valuable, and it's valuable because it's made in the image of God or the creator or whatever. And then marry that with the idea that you have free will, you have a brain and a frontal cortex that work. Therefore, it's up to you to try to not violate other people's human value, so to speak. And then also, if you want to exist in the society and build it together, you gotta weigh those things and keep it going on. So when it comes to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the calculation was that if we demonstrate to the Japanese people that we have this just overwhelming capability, it will force them to surrender because their pride is very, very entrenched in the Japanese culture. Therefore, this is a way to theoretically cause less suffering, but at the same time still achieve our tactical military objectives.
I got a quick thought on that.
Yeah,
that was another soapbox. Thank you, guys.
As far when it comes to war, are there really any civilians? The civilian population is what supports. It supports.
I'm going to hard stop you and say yes.
No,
there are such thing as civilians and non-combatants.
They might be non-combatants, but the civilian population is what keeps the war effort going. Like there is no more war without civilian backup, right? Once anybody loses the production that comes from the civilian side of things, your war effort's done. If you don't have civilians back home building your weapons, pumping your oil, contributing to the war effort, there is no more war effort. So like I said, I get it from a moral standpoint that it's wrong, but in order for you to win a war, you must also engage in attacking civilians. And that doesn't necessarily mean death. That means attacking their infrastructure, their food. Like you have to the civilian population must suffer in order for you to win a war.
I completely disagree with that. Here's how you win a war. And I'm going to actually add on to Zenith's soapbox. So I'm going to have two soapboxes here stacked on top of each other. So not only
I am the king of the soapboxes.
All the soapboxes right now. So what else happened when the U.S. dropped those atomic bombs? They also showed just how destructive and insanely, think about it this way, right? Russia and America decided on mutually agreed destruction, right? Where'd they get that from? They got it from the fact that one single city with 70,000 people can be vaporized instantly. That was a brand new thing humans had to wrestle with after it was dropped. It was like, this is way too much power, even if you want to try and cheat and win, right? So it's almost like a PTSD for humans in any kind of war to be like, the nukes are coming out, right? And if you think about it, we had a full 50 straight years in the Cold War where everybody was scared to death that was going to be a thing that actually happens, you know? And even to this day, World War III, the nukes are going to be dropped. You know, that's one of the hypothetical ways that we go extinct as a species right now. And it all started from dropping it on Japan. So they didn't just win the war. They, we humans have basically kind of almost won a war on our own extinction, if that is fair enough to be said.
Yeah. I don't have much more to add to that. You perfectly stacked the soapboxes.
That's pretty good.
We went off on this rant just because we were talking about cheating.
Man, this is great. I don't know if you
It
guys
is.
have taken a look at the freaking chats while we've been talking about. Holy
Yeah,
moly,
it's
they've
been going
stacked
off.
up. My goodness. I'm not gonna do. Well, I guess let me take a look at the. I'm gonna go ahead and shout out some of the guys who have joined us. Shout out to Anonymous Sucro. Shout out to Agent J. I think Agent J might be attempting to join here shortly. I'm not sure. Shout out to Tam, and also Large has joined us. So big shout out to you, ladies and gentlemen. Keep the chats going, man. Anonymous Sucro has been
Yeah,
keeping this
homie's
place
here to
live.
talk about morals and ethics.
Hell yeah, I love it. I love to hear it. Okay, so chapter 10. Oh, so chapter 10 is longevity in SciVive. I never even knew that chapter existed. I've never seen or heard that one. So this is going to be interesting.
Hey,
We've got
we
Farmer,
have-
or excuse me, not Farmer. We've got Agent J and we've got Farmer J. Look at that. Agent J, what's up, broski? Welcome to Book Club, my friend. I think this is the most stacked book club we've ever had. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, thank you for making some room for me here on this wonderful Friday evening. I just finished a whole bunch of work outside, and I figured I'd take a break and hang out with the fellas here instead of just being in the chat. I'd hop on if you had room. So you know, glad to join. Glad to join for sure.
Hell yeah, brother! You're just in time. You missed my terrible atom bomb joke. So.
Oh man.
No, I've been listening.
He had some good
Okay, you caught
points.
that.
I want to hear Jay's thoughts on what do you think about so I will say, Zenith, that I agree with pretty much everything that you were saying. I would restructure the word cheating to saying applying unfair advantages where it doesn't have like crazy negative externalities, you know? And then
Correct.
also like
So I think go for it.
I was gonna say to just to kind of tie it back, like the guy who kicked the other fighter in the nuts, like he might have won the fight, but he lost public opinion. So it's like there's consequences to actions and things, and like
the fan base actually loved him more for it.
Oh really? Okay, well
Yeah,
maybe not everyone.
Derek Lewis, aka the Black Beast, is this massive heavyweight from Houston whose main thing is like, I'm just here to swang and bang. Like either I get knocked out or he gets knocked out. Like in one of the last wins he had, he started off the fight with a flying knee that just connected perfectly with his opponent, and then spent the next like 30 seconds just ground and pounding the guy, wins, and then proceeds to run around the octagon, take his pants off, start cross-chopping the audience, and then hops on the mic with Joe Rogan.
Good
That sounds like World War II ending right there.
What a boss!
I love that guy.
Derek Lewis is
throw
one of
this
my
over
favorite
to,
fighters.
Let's throw this over to Agent J. I want to hear Agent J's thoughts on the nuances of taking advantage of opportunities that other people don't see, and or cheating, and or just straight up like demolishing people. And I don't know, maybe 70,000 of your ancestors there, Mr. A. Oh no, you're from the Philippines. Just kidding. 70. Oh no, wait. Don't Japan and the Philippines have some bad blood, or am I thinking of a different thing? Because I remember there's
China.
Most of the people over there don't like each other.
Okay. What's your thoughts, Agent J?
I'd have to agree with your sentiment, Will. I think people that take advantage of, I wouldn't say take advantage of the rules. I would say they act well within the rules because they explore what advantages that they can use to take advantage of the game that they're playing in. The best example that I can think of, right, is the tax code. A lot of people in the United States will look at people who are wealthy and say that they're cheaters, right? Because they don't pay any taxes. But all of us know here that what they're doing, a lot of people might consider it cheating, but we all know that they're acting well within the bounds of the laws, right? I think people who don't take the time and they don't have the diligence to study the game that they're playing in are not going to be able to take advantage of everything with everything in the rules within the game that they're allowed to do. And so there's that one aspect, right? The tax code. There's another one that comes to my mind when I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh. You guys should be familiar with the card game. That there are a lot of people who take advantage of the semantics within the card game in order to basically get the judges into their favor. A lot of people would call that cheating, but again, it's like I would say that that's taking advantage of the semantics within the game to turn it into your favor. So I think that aspect, I would not call it cheating. I call it taking advantage of what the rules allow you to do. Now, if what Richard meant by his quote was that if you aren't actually like being dishonest and disingenuous and cheating, like acting outside of the rules of the game, then you're not working hard enough, I would have to side with Zenith, right? I wholeheartedly disagree with that sentiment. You guys know my thoughts on trust, right? It's a currency. And if you are a cheater, right, you will be found out eventually. And then you've lost that trust, you've lost that currency from among your peer group. And like, for example, let's say you're playing a sport, then you lose the trust of the industry, you lose the trust of the fans, right? And nobody's going to want to play with you. And so if that's what Richard meant, I would have to disagree, right? I think trust is a currency that is very difficult to earn and easy to lose. And if you cheat, if you are dishonest, then I think you're setting yourself up for failure inevitably, right? Because nobody gets away with anything ever.
For sure. Jay, you touched on something that Sam mentioned earlier, which is the tax argument. Because Sam, your original question was that people claim that other people are cheating within the tax code. But one thing that we really haven't specifically addressed in the conversation up to this point is that there's a difference between cheating and not cheating, and then the concept of like fairness. But fairness does not mean that everyone plays the same game. Because honestly, life is a very asymmetrical game, which is that you're effectively starting your save file from where your parents left off their save file when they handed it over to you. And their save file is the same thing as when it was given to them. So it's like everyone has different starting points. And then obviously when it comes to the whole like character creation and your spawn selection, yes, you are randomly put into the country of your birth. You kind of got to get over it and just play the game you got. But what I'm saying by all this is that, Will, you mentioned this earlier, which is that just because you have an advantage over someone that they did not have inherently does not mean that it's cheating. It's all inside of the rules. But when it comes to very specific things that we as humans do, when it comes to like sports, games, that kind of thing, we try to keep it. They're designed to be inviting to everyone so that anyone can pick up the game and play because everyone is starting from the same point, which is that everybody starts the chess game with all the pieces. If you played a game of chess with only the pieces that you brought to the game, then like if you are a person that has bought in a lot of chess pieces, you can just show up with like 17 queens and a king. Or if you are like some elementary school kid, you might have scrapped together like a pawn, a knight, and a king. It's like, obviously, yeah, that is not fair per se. So that's more of an analogy to life, which is that the games that we play with life itself and inside of society, finances, love, romance, and even war to an extent is that, yeah, it's asymmetric gameplay. Asymmetric gameplay is not cheating. It's just different. But when it comes to society, cheating is where you start violating rules and laws willingly and trying to, because that is a place where there are expected boundaries and guardrails. And that is the place where going outside of the guardrails is cheating.
So what you're saying is basically the guy who is able to afford 4 Black Lotuses versus somebody who's not.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of the argument a bit.
You know what I find interesting about the societal aspect of this is that this is something that we all as humans have agreed on, right? And technically speaking, all of us humans are able to just continue playing that asymmetrical game in society, which we have for a very long time. However, it seems like in the evolution of humans, right, we've all kind of come to this agreement that, you know what, it's a lot more peaceful, or it's a lot better to live a peaceful life so my family can grow. And in able to do this, I think I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to agree with you that we all should play this actual fair game now.
For sure.
But life's not fair.
Life is not fair.
You just brought up the example of the guy with the 4 lotuses. Life is not fair.
So with the example of the 4 lotuses, it's if you're trying to not compete at the highest level, if you're handicapping yourself, then yeah, sure, it might not be fair, but it's fair because you chose to handicap yourself. AKA, you understood that there is a theoretical max amount that you can spend on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Or the Magic cards, but you've just chosen not to buy them for other reasons, like, I don't know, making good financial decisions with your life. So it's trade-offs.
Like,
everything in life is trade-offs.
What's a 4 Lotus? I don't know what that means.
Black Lotus is one of the original cards from the first 3 sets in Magic the Gathering, Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited. It is it is the creme de la creme of collectible like trading cards. I'm pretty sure one of them sold recently for a graded one. Sold for 2. Was that the One Ring or was that a graded Lotus?
It was a Lotus. Graded 10.
Graded Lotus for $2 million. There you go. For context.
One sold for like 1.5 to Post Malone.
Yeah, Posty.
That's a fucking
Anyways,
flex.
Enough
Got
of the
an
nerd
analogy
stuff.
for you, Zenith.
Yeah.
So it seems like I was trying to like find some analogy to like fairly describe what is the fairness thing. And what comes to mind is like when you're playing a video game with your friends, right? And you happen to be like practicing a lot, or you go like find some cool tunnel that's been built into the map that gets you like access to something great for you to like kill the other person lots and have a great time. Like that's an example of playing the game by the rules. But if you find some glitch in the map that allows you to like instantly transport something and like blow all their resources up or something like that, then like you are taking advantage of a glitch that's not intended to be done, right? Is that a fair analogy?
I got a quick comment on that. You guys remember playing Mario Kart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Remember on certain maps you can jump down and skip and get to the bait. Was that cheating or was that just taking advantage of the situation?
Actually, you got a good point on that one because I remember that. I also, doing exploits in like say Destiny or Call of Duty or whatever, right? Exploits. You still did the work to find that cheat code. So it's technically not cheating, yet cheating. It's only cheating to those who didn't realize it was there, but you still did the work to get it. So you just worked harder.
Yep,
this is an example of kind of relativism when it comes to what is cheating and what is not. Because if you're playing the game, then theoretically anything you can do in that game is within the bounds, as long as you're not like physically altering it or doing some sort of like, I don't know, like if you're playing an online game, you're like literally trying to like DDoS attack your opponent or something. But it kind of comes down to the question of intent. And that's the word that really gets people mixed up, I think, when it comes to cheating and fairness, which is like, are people playing by the intended rules, or are they just playing by the rules, not even as like they interpreted them loosely, but just, I go back to the idea of a meta. I think a lot of kids have this kind of level up moment when they're playing like basketball growing up, which is that traditionally people are taught you play defense by playing one-on-one, man-on-man. And then you run into that one team who the coach knows what a zone defense is. And then as like an 8-year-old, you look at this 2-3 zone defense and you go, why are they not doing the thing I expected them to do? Are they cheating? No. Is it fair? Yes. But at the same time, you came into that game with an intent to play a certain way and your opponent found a different way to play. It's not cheating.
Freaking Anonymous Sucro basically sums up the entire thing. We've been glitching since we were youngins. That's basically all that it is. It's like life is just a big ass game of rock, paper, scissors with an infinite number of possibilities, and some of them make other people hate you. Gentlemen, let's wrap up this particular topic because goddamn, boys and girls, we've been on this one for motherfucking like not quite an hour, but like holy shit, this has been good. I like it. I like the conversation. I like the directions we're going. I don't like the fact that I'm clicking on the wrong Telegram chats right now to try and find something. So I'm going to scroll through here. I'm going to pick one of these ones at random. Ooh, I'm going to pick, let's see.
Tell you what, did we beat up the time chapter enough?
The time
you
chapter?
Think we covered? Yeah.
Sure. I don't really know how much
Mrs.
we're going to talk about keyboards.
You have something you want to bring up?
Did you ask me?
What?
I don't know who you asked. I'm sorry. I thought I heard.
Oh, I asked you. Did you have anything from the time chapter you wanted to bring up?
That was the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only one out of these 3 that I really cared about. So.
I will say that learning about polyvinyl chloride keys versus I don't even remember ABS keys versus whatever the heck. I was like, oh, some keys get smoother as you type on them longer.
That's funny because when he was talking about PVC pipe, I was actually installing PVC pipe at the moment as I was listening to it at work.
Funny.
There you go.
Bro.
I wanted to say the chapter 8 was garbage, complete garbage. No offense, but I hated it. Like me and Nate were like, we listened to it and multiple times. We were like, what? What is he talking about? Like it was just no, it was like nonsense. And 9 was only 20 minutes, so 9 was okay, but it was only 20 minutes, so I don't know that there's too much content in that.
Yeah, for reference,
was the only one that really made any kind of sense to me personally. That really kind of stood out. You know, did you talk about the 300 hobbies thing?
No, we did not talk about 300 hobbies. That was one of my quotes.
If you want.
Yeah, for sure.
Part that stood out to me too. So.
Yeah, when it comes to the time chapter, one of the things Richard brought up was that you can very easily get stuck in time sinks. One of the most infamous time sinks are hobbies, especially if you have multiple hobbies, because it's very easy to sink a lot of time into one. And if you have multiple of them, you're ignoring the other ones when you're not doing them. And at the same time, it's very, very easy just to keep pouring time and time and time and resources into them as well. The 300 hobbies quote is one of the ones where I think Richard proposes the idea that if you want to classify it, there's only 300 possible hobbies that you can have. And he's like, you might want to stick to like 1 or 2.
You know, there's something to that. I'd be curious to see the list of 300. I didn't see or hear anything about this number.
He didn't list it, again, but he tosses it out and then moves on.
Yeah.
Very, very RH.
I mean, yeah, that is pretty much his style. I do like that, but like there's something to be said about and I think this ties in well with the other quote that you had in there, Zenith, about at the very, very bottom of
is that my you can save money by not my entry for this chapter's version of you can save money by starving yourself?
Not that one, no.
Oh, okay.
And
we'll
actually
cover that one later on.
I'd noticed that while I was driving that I wasn't stopping and eating. And I was like, dang, I'm spending less money today than I normally do. So I thought of you when I was crossing the states earlier, and I was like, oh my God, look at that. I can afford to buy the premium gas on this stop rather than just the regular old 87. But no, like I think that the 300 hobbies kind of ties into the same thing is like your very bottom quote of don't waste your time trying to do things that other people are already doing better and for free. Like that plays it like with a hobby. The difference between a hobby and like a profession or like a purpose in life is that one you get paid for and the other one you don't. You know, like ideally, if we lived in a perfect world, all of our professions that we do, we would be getting like we would love to do the thing. A hobby is like, hey, I love to do the thing for the sake of doing the thing, but it doesn't make money. If people can find a way to take the thing that they love to do and turn it into a money-making endeavor, then it no longer becomes a hobby, it becomes like a purpose in life. And if somebody else is doing the thing that you love to do and they're doing it for free, or they're doing it better than you, or some combination of the thing, then like you'd be better served in like a money-making fashion, finding something else to do with your time. And that's, man, where was I going? I had a train of thought.
You're good.
That's kind of what I want to.
The reason that I put this quote in here is because I think it kind of encapsulates a lot of what Richard is trying to get at by writing the time chapter, which is that he wants you to stop wasting your time. And when you do spend time, you should be getting value out of it and adding value to your life. That is what this one really hones in on for me, which is the idea of don't waste your time doing things that other people are doing better and for free. So A, don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. And B, your time is valuable. So find ways to spend your time and get value out of it. This is one of those ideas of like, it's the race to the bottom or the forever undercutting. It's one of the ideas that people like to throw out to show like how it's possible for something with infinite availability is ultimately going to go to a value of 0. And you're kind of seeing it with crypto meme coins, honestly, in my personal opinion, which is that because all you really have to do is just go pay a gas fee and you can create any meme coin you want, it means that you're competing in a very unregulated marketplace where your time, the value of your time and effort spending this is honestly about equal to the amount of gas fee you put into it and whatever you spend on marketing, because you have the same access and availability as everyone else, and anyone can do this theoretically like almost an infinite amount of times, or damn near infinite. We'll just call it the law of large numbers on this one. So it's that kind of thing. So it's don't get in those competitions. And this goes back to advice from the other chapters, which is that you want to make sure that you are, the fewer people are able to do what you do, the more valuable whatever it is you're doing is. And you can market it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that hobbies tend to work is that first you love doing them, but then you realize that the more and more you do them, the better you get at them. And then next thing you know, the people around you start saying, "Hey, you're really good at that. Do you mind if I pay you some money?" And then that's when you start turning it into a profession, is after that. So this is where I'm trying to remember exactly where it was, but Richard Hart was talking about how you should take like only like say 5 and like focus on those 5 hobbies, and that should be it. And you should be like a kind of like a jack of all trades, but not specifically of one, right? Because you the ROI that you get on just focusing on one of them, and then just kind of transforming those into like little side businesses, basically.
Fair enough. Rest of the gang, what you guys got? Hobbies, doing don't do things other people do better for free. What do you think?
I got a fast can almost always beat free.
Sorry, what was that, Sam?
Fast can almost always beat free. So if you love doing something, figure out how to do it faster than everybody else.
There you go, competitive advantage.
Does it make it if you have something?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just found it strange that he's trying to claim that there's only 300 hobbies. I don't know where they came up with that idea, but it's very
it does seem
weird
like a very
to me.
random number.
Additionally, the idea that being a jack of all trades is a good thing is something that's very contradictory to a lot of, I guess, other opinions. So I thought that was also kind of strange, and I can't remember all the chapters of SciVive. Sorry, there's been too much of it, but I could have sworn that one was almost contradictory too, compared to
You're
like
good.
previous things that have been stated. And I guess that's kind of why I want to bring it up. First off, I'm just confused as to where this 300 hobbies subject came from, because it's completely not true. You can make a hobby out of basically anything you want to. And additionally, it's just so strange. It's like, be a jack of all trades now. And I'm like, okay, but I thought you said the opposite of that earlier. I mean, he's not wrong that being good at multiple things is a good thing. But also, like, the jack of all trades, master of none is a common saying for a reason, because if you're the master of none, that in itself is a little bit of a failing, and it kind of can become a hindrance rather than a benefit. So,
yeah, just quick. If you remember, the full quote is a jack of all trades and master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. That's the full quote. It comes from the William Shakespeare book writings.
Ooh. Yeah, the idea. Oh, I'm sorry. The idea with this is that you get good at most things, right? But not like focus in on something where you are the master, the number one master in this one particular thing, but you are still very good and relied on heavily by the majority of people on many different things. That's the technical best way that he's kind of talking about.
I mean, I think Sam can probably attest to this, as he's in the trades, right? A guy that can do a little bit of electrical, carpentry, plumbing, masonry work, right, is probably more valuable for a general contractor than somebody that's just very specific in their one trade and that's all they know.
I would say that largely depends on scale and what your target is.
Yeah,
because like
definitely.
if you're trying to like build the fastest, craziest houses, then like they're going to want specialization. And the other thing that comes with like being a master of one thing is that, like, quoting Hormozy all day today, if you continue doing one thing for a long period of time, there's no way you can possibly suck. And so, like, if you are concerned with trying to get good at something and make money and all that stuff, just stop changing what you're doing and continue focusing on one thing. I think that's valuable. I think there's definitely nuance to it.
So you know what you're talking about right there actually is this is how you scale as a leader, right? So people who do go into like one specific thing and then master that, that's when they get hired on for good money by a jack of all trades who's really good at like everything, but not a master in one thing. That the jack of all trades then becomes your boss. So that's how you scale, is by being a jack of all trades.
I would have to agree with Sam here. I think it's highly dependent, right? Because one good thing about being a specialist, especially as you scale up on that ladder, if you're like the specialist of all specialists, then your particular skill set is unique. And if we're talking about money, which, you know, we like talking about making money, then you get to charge a lot higher premium than any other person because you are the master of that specialty, right? So there's an importance to being a specialist. Now, I want to allude to something that Nate said, right? When it comes to scaling, a lot of people, a lot of successful entrepreneurs, they hyper focus on maybe one particular skill, right? Or one particular endeavor. And then they make it to the top of, or at least what they consider to be the top of that skill set. And then what do they do after they become a master of that is they make a lateral move into something, right? So they focused on being a specialist, and then they made a lateral move into being a generalist into something else, repeat the same process, become a specialist there, master it, then make another lateral move, right? A lot of the most successful people in the world aren't just good at one particular thing. They're good at many things, right? But it's a process of hyper-focusing on one thing, right? That's why Richard, I think the reason why he says on not doing so many hobbies is because you have to spend some time becoming hyper-competent at one thing, right? So that you're marketable, so that you can make money off of that skill set. And then once you're making money, then you could potentially consider making a lateral move, right? Because then what you're able to do is you're able to buy back the time that you can now spend, right? As opposed to if you had so many different hobbies that you weren't making any money out of, then guess what? You're never going to be able to scale that into something profitable. So very context dependent. I think Richard has a point to a degree, but again, it's like he doesn't, well, he doesn't do a very good job of explaining it, I guess. But again, that's an assumption on my part, right? I'm not obviously going to assume, like, bag on him too much because he's not here to defend himself. But those were just my initial thoughts on it.
So you guys all have very good points. Although I think the reason that Richard brings up this idea, the idea of not having too many hobbies in this one, is the idea of wasting your life, because this is also kind of this. He mentioned this early on, but he doubles back on it before he goes into the great tirade about how many video games out there are designed to waste your life for addictive reasons and intentionally so. But when it comes to the hobbies, I think what he's saying is that he's trying to get at the point that you can do hobbies like forever theoretically, but there are more important things to life than the hobbies.
I think, look, you guys.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just real quick, Cassie. I'm sure some of you might have heard of Gary Vee. He talks about a lot about, so his end goal is usually happiness, which, you know, it's another different conversation. But I think there's certainly something to that. If you're somebody who is content and satisfied with your life, right, and you're playing video games and that makes you happy, that's totally fine. I'm not going to bag on you on that. But at the end of the day, that's fine, Farmer J, right? But what I'm trying to get to is if you do nothing but play games on your free time, and then you come and complain to me about how you're broke as a joke and nobody takes you seriously, you don't have the respect of your peers, then we have a fucking issue, right? But if your satisfaction, your contentness comes from having all these different hobbies and you're happy, then you've won the game, right? But again, the caveat is you can't then retroactively complain to other people about how unfair life is when you have not done the work in order to place yourself in a position to succeed, right? So again, this stuff is very context specific. If you're happy with your life and you're content, fine, right? But if you have complaints and you'd want, like, you look at somebody like, wow, it would be really nice if maybe I wasn't living hand over fist. Maybe it would be nice to get the recognition of my peers. Maybe it would be fantastic if I could provide for myself and for my family. Then we're talking a different story, right? Then I'm going to be with Farmer J. I'm going to be like, then stop fucking playing video games, put down the damn controller, and then go out there and acquire a marketable skill, become a specialist at it, and then we can talk, right?
The reason
very
why
context dependent.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
the reason
Fabian.
why I have some problem with some of these people that you said are content like that is because they could perfectly be happy, but they're usually a leech on society, and they usually
Very true.
like they're usually freeloaders and the leech on society, and at the end of the day, we have to pay for those leeches.
That's
fair. Jay, what you're saying is completely accurate. Just like he goes on to say that he used to waste thousands of hours on video games, and how MMORPGs are basically endless, and they're going to steal your time for the rest of your life if you let them.
RPGs are just, man, you can just lose a lot of time.
The thing is, Nate and I were kind of talking about this back and forth because we were right next to each other. We drove for 26 something hours over the last 2 days, so we had a lot of time to talk. We were talking about this a little bit, and kind of what we were saying is he really kind of like harps on, oh, video games are this massive waste of time, don't do it. And it's like, well, what Jay is saying, if you enjoy video games and you're still taking care of your family, then more power to you. Like, nobody has the right to take that away from you.
Mm-hmm.
But too much of anything can always be a bad thing. I mean, you can die from drinking too much water, for crying out loud, when water is the most essential thing to life. So, it's all about that balance. And maybe that is what he meant with the 300 hobbies comment, and he just kind of I don't know, phrased that weird.
For sure. Tell you what, I got one last quote that I want to throw around at the table. I think we highlighted it early. So this one comes at the end of the chapter, and Richard says, "Life is not infinite. So when you live, you walk a fine line between enjoyment and savings, between spending and saving." Wanted to get your guys' take on that. So at the get-go, there's two kind of interpretations for this, me personally, which is that the quote itself is trying to say that your life is finite. Therefore, it's almost one of those like net zero things where it's like, if you save all your money, you've never spent your money, which means what was the point of getting the thing, because now you're dead. And the counterpoint to that, I would argue, is that yes, but if you also had a family and children or something, you've now built something that you can theoretically pass along. Also assuming that Uncle Sam doesn't reach his greedy fingers too much into your coffin as well before it even gets to your kids. By the way, set up a trust if you want to pass wealth on between generations. That is the best way to do it, and the best way to keep the government out of it. So yeah, that's what I got.
Really, really quick. Don't be afraid to fight the government if they try to come at you and be like, we're taking this because the person who died had such and such that they owed. They will make up whatever they can to try and get that. Just don't be afraid to fight them on it, because they did that. My great uncle passed. They tried to take his house that he left behind for so-called medical bills, but he was on disability his whole life. They had no right to touch it. So, but my mom had to fight to save the house, is the point. Just something to be aware of, because if you don't know these things, you can be so easily taken advantage of, unfortunately, in this country.
True. The government cheats. There, I said it.
They cheat the most.
That
they do.
Maybe not, Z. I think there is some truth to that. But look, in particular, what Mrs. McGettit mentioned here, right? What Cass said is that her mom, when the government tried to take that home, she actually fought. The unfortunate reality is most people won't go through the trouble of fighting, right? Because they know that it might be an extended battle and it's exhausting, and they just don't want to go through it. And so they just throw in the cards and decide not to play, right? So I think in this case, go ahead, Cass.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to say the reason I mentioned it was because I wanted people to know that, to be aware of it, because I think what you're saying is true as well, that some people don't want to fight because it's not worth a battle. But also I think some people don't realize that they can. If the government comes to you and says, we're doing this because of this, they have that blind trust, and they're just like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's a thing. Sucks, but nothing I can do about it. But that is not the case. If they come at you for something, you can fight them. You can make a stand.
Absolutely.
That's what I wanted to kind of get across. I want people to be like aware of that. Just don't give in because you have that blind trust, or you are just ignorant about the situation, I guess.
Yeah.
Remember,
this is dangerous.
Don't steal. The government hates competition.
Oh God. Yeah, the thing I was just going to add on is just simply that they'll go after the little guy who is unable to protect themselves. And there's a lot of people who don't fight back because literally they are unable to fight back. And that is just an unfortunate reality.
Correct. This is dangerous territory for Uncle Z to get up on soapbox number 3 of the night. And like I'm trying to do a little more research into like some like OG political thinking. So like I got The Law by Frederick Bastiat, where he talks about the source of political power, because this is definitely an oversimplification, but at the end of the day, the government is a big shooting people machine, which is that the government, which is made of people who are flawed, just like all of us, get together and make laws, and then they enforce those laws on, Will's got another good one. He says Anatomy of the State by Murray Rothbard, or is that Rothland?
Rothbard? By Murray Rothbard, famous Rothbard, and oh shoot, who is the other libertarian guy? Is Rothbard and Mises. Those guys were the big libertarian
Frederick von
fellows.
Mises.
Yes, Frederick von Mises. It's a super quick little book, like super tiny, super easy, fast read. I highly recommend everyone read The Anatomy of the State by Murray Rothbard. We might cover that on a book club at some point. Super simple.
What's the one you said, Zenith? What's the book you have?
It is The Law by Frederick Bastiat, Bastiat. This is also a pretty short read. It's only about like 75 pages. And there you go. That's the spacing for it.
Okay, great. I got both of them written down.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, the point of the tangent was that from political thought, my personal opinion is that when you start involving the government in things, that's when you can actually really start. That's where you can actually start to kind of claim the whole cheating thing, which is that sure, is everything fair in love and war, and politics is kind of a different kind of warfare. Yes. However, at the same time, if you start using the systems of society in perverse ways, that you're no longer going to have society. So that's why I do stand by that. Anyways, to get back to the original point, the quote once again was the idea that life is not finite. Life is not infinite, so you walk a fine line between enjoyment and savings, that fine line between spending and saving. I wanted to ask how this works for you guys in your own personal lives.
Yeah, I look, that concept bleeds into all aspects of your life. You walk a fine line within everything. You guys know that Taoist symbol, right? The paisley, right? It's a black paisley with a white dot inside, and then a white paisley with a black dot inside, and then right down the middle is a split, right? You walk a fine line, right? Dr. Jordan Peterson, yeah, he talks a lot about this.
Yeah,
about
it's like
living
the Taoist everyone knows what a yin yang is. Okay, yeah,
right. Like you have one foot in chaos and you have one foot in order. You walk a fine line between everything, right? And you have to realize that. You guys probably know about the story of the grasshopper and the ant, right? The ant spends his entire life working to save for a storm to come, and the grasshopper spent his entire life slacking off and lazing about, right? Those are like two ends of the extreme. And you have to realize that in your lives, you can fall into one end of that, but the perfect place to be is right in the middle, right? With one foot in either direction, because that's when you live in balance, right? A lot of people, like Z mentioned earlier, they might spend their entire life saving, but then they never get to spend or enjoy any of that money because they've just put it away in the bank. A lot of people, they spend their entire lives just spending on frivolous things, and then they struggle through the entirety of their existence because they don't have any good financial competence, right? You, as an individual, should realize those two extremes and attempt to exist somewhere in the middle, right? Because like Cass mentioned earlier, too much of anything, whether good or bad, can become bad eventually, right? Too much water can kill you. Too much oxygen can kill you. Too much money can kill you, right? And so I think realizing that in life, the perfect place to be is somewhere in the middle, teetering that line, then I think you have something that then I think you live in what is the appropriate balance, right? I think a lot of people they butcher when they say you have to live a balanced life. I think they don't know what they're talking about. I think that's, at least me personally, that's what I think of when I live in a balanced life. You exist in the middle with one foot in either direction, and that's when you are at peace is one way to put it, but we can just settle on balance.
So I mean that is an idea, yeah, and I think that's a good thing for people to try to do for their life. However, there's also like we humans, we do kind of live, we unfortunately don't live so much in the power of now. And we are a little bit in the future and the past, right? We've learned from the past and we seek to the future to kind of plan things out. And so when you're kind of looking for the idea of balance, right? There are certain seasons for overdoing something and able to then balance it out with overdoing something else in a later season. I can take myself for a literal example here. In 2023, I hermited to the point where the only thing I had was this show and then just work. That was it. Make as much money as absolute possible, throw it all into crypto. And now this year right here, I just drove 26 miles out here to go meet this guy. We're about to party tonight, but or more like go to sleep. But freaking this year is going to be all about trying to improve my life to be more of the man that I want to be, right? Now, I did not do that in 2023. And so I hermited and went too far one direction in 2023. But now this year, I'm going to be going a different direction. It's all about balancing everything together out in the end, though.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say just work in DRT is pretty based, but yeah, whatever.
Well, so I think Nate has a very good point there. There are seasons to everything. Because there's a time and place to work as much as you can, and then there's a time and place for you to let your foot off the gas pedal a little bit and take a step back and recover, right? You guys know that my thoughts on fitness is your success in the long term is predicated on your ability to come back and do it again the next day, right? So you don't go full throttle all the way. I think it's also very context specific. For example, because we talk about overworking ourselves here. If I was just a single guy and I didn't have any other responsibilities to myself, I didn't have the responsibilities for my family, I didn't have responsibilities to DJ and Roundtable and to our community, I could spend all my time working and I'd be perfectly fine and happy and satisfied with that, right? But I have a family, I have a wife, I have a community to take care of, right? So I have responsibilities to them. So I can't just spend all of my life working, right? I have to know when it's appropriate to stop working, right? To compartmentalize that part of my brain that wants to work and make money all the time, and then spend that time with the wife, right? Make her happy, and then spend the time creating content for the channel to give value to our community, right? I think that's what. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, but I think that's what you mean when you mean that there are seasons, right? Where there's an appropriate time and place to go full throttle, and then a time and place to take a step back and put your attention into other aspects that need your attention.
That is exactly it. You know, it's like, I mean, if you were to look at like years as seasons, right? An entire year to do one thing, I'm not really looking to interact with any other human being. Yes, okay, but that's going too far on one side. Okay, well, now I'm going to use the entire next year to not really go as hard into making money, but instead try and interact with other human beings, right? And by the time I get, like, say, 5 years down the road with these going hard on certain aspects per year type of thing, in the end, it's going to combine into this very balanced human being that I want to be now.
Farmer Jay, Sam, what you guys got? Spending versus saving. Where's the line for you?
Man, I had a thought. Shoot. Oh, so yeah, the one thing by Gary Keller touches on this subject, and they talk a lot about, like, okay, you got to focus on this one thing, right? But the idea of balancing between the extremes is the balance. And for a long time in my life, I tried to balance, like, the work, the fun, the hobbies, the like family time. I tried to balance that every single day and have somehow some kind of, like, perfect day. And in that book, it described the idea of, like, no, like, the balance exists between the extremes, not by averaging everything out through your life and having just a, like, okay, now I'm going to spend 3 seconds out mowing the grass. I'm going to spend 3 seconds out there, like, you know, playing tennis, and then I'm going to spend 3 seconds playing the piano. Like, no, like, I'm going to, like, spend 5 hours on a Saturday playing the piano, and I'm going to have a great time. And then it's like, okay, I'll do that once a month or something. So that's all. That was what came to mind for that.
Yeah. It's a very similar concept, Sam, to what Nate was talking about, right? The season for everything, seasonalities. You don't average out your entire day so that you spend an hour doing this, an hour doing that, an hour doing X, an hour doing Y, an hour doing Z. That's not what balance, I think. That's not what good balance is I think, at the very least. So yes, I definitely agree with your thesis and then Nate's as well.
So
I think one of the best examples of the last point here, one of the best examples of that is, guys, would you rather have like super mediocre sex every day, or would you rather have fantastic sex once a week?
how about just sex, period?
Oh my God.
You know, Sam, I think
Farmer's got the right mindset on this one. Sorry.
I think some very disgruntled non-red pill dudes would say, well, it's easy for you to say, Sam, because you're tall and you're handsome and you got your own business and you're good with women and you're a cheater.
Yeah, he cheats because he's so handsome. He's a stud.
Yeah. my quick thoughts on the topic then.
Hit it.
Well, like, if you're gonna work hard, like, you should actually take what you earn from that to enjoy life. Like,
yes.
And that's like pretty much like my thoughts on it. Like I believe in working hard and enjoying what you know, and enjoying yourself with the people that you love and doing things that you enjoy, which probably brings us back to hobbies, right? We should have certain hobbies, right? But what we do for a living should probably fund that, and we should enjoy ourselves. I think there was a story that it's been out in the red pill community, right, of a guy who saved he came from humble means, and when he passed, and he lived a humble life, and when he passed away, I think he left to the town like a few $1 million, but he lived like crap his whole life. Like, you saved all that money. I think he was a janitor. You saved all that money, but you didn't enjoy it. Why? Like, why the hell did you not enjoy that money? Like, we have a finite time here on earth, and he lived a full life.
Yeah, that was from the psychology of money that we just covered, I think, not too long ago. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh yeah, the story is in there. Yeah, you are right, but it's been covered on a few red pill channels. That story.
Was it that one or Millionaire Next Door?
No, because I didn't cover.
Both of them definitely have stories like that, which is either extreme, which is go for it.
Oh, sorry. I don't think we covered the psychology of money, but yes, there were definitely a lot of stories like that in the Millionaire Next Door.
Jay, what did you have, bro? You were you had something there.
Oh, I was just going to come to defense of Mr. Janitor. I whenever I can, I try to be context specific. Maybe Mr. Janitor, even though maybe the joy in his life was in the process of accumulating the money. So I think we can make the argument that maybe he should have spent some of that money to spend time with people that he cared about. Well, maybe his satisfaction came from the process of the accumulation, right? And so I think that's fair. You said he lived a full life. If he died and he didn't have any regrets, then who are we to impose our beliefs on what a satisfactory and fulfilling life should be for Mr. Janitor, right?
He should have left that money to me then.
Hey, Jay, I just want to say.
Go ahead.
I just want to say I think you're correct, because if he left those millions of dollars for the town, perhaps it was the process of gaining the millions of dollars with the friends and people and things that he enjoyed doing with that town. And so his ultimate goal was maybe not his goal, but one of the last things that he got to do for what satisfied him in his life was leaving all of that money for the town.
Yeah.
Nah, to me, screw that. To me personally, I like screw that. Like, if I'm gonna work that hard, like, I should at least enjoy. I'm talking about that says he lived a pretty like average lifestyle, right? Yeah, he could have probably left half that money, but he should have definitely enjoyed some of it. It looks like he enjoyed none of it. I think that's kind of sad. That, like, you should have enjoyed, like you always say, Nate, right? You try to gather money to buy back our time, right? So I think he should have used that to enjoy his time while we're on this earth a little bit better. my personal thoughts of it. But what the hell do I know?
Oh, that's
So-
fair.
I will say,
Go for it, Will.
my quick analogy is like I see this guy is kind of like he picks up a marble every day. He walks up a hill and he puts this marble in a giant container. And there's a latch that he can hit that like spills all these marbles out, and the marbles go everywhere and whatever. And he just keeps walking up every day and putting the marble in, and walking up every day and putting the marble in. And then he dies and all the marbles are up there. And he's like, oh, somebody else can go flip the lever if they want. You know, it's like we can. I'm not here to judge whether he did the right thing or whether he did the wrong thing, but I will say that he left a whole lot of his potential energy to other people. And hey, maybe that's what his plan was. But he built up a sizable stack of potential economic energy. And if that's what he wanted to do, is entrust his energy into other people, then so be it. Me personally, I'm not one to trust other folks with carrying out my plans and my goals and things. But like, hey, whatever his deal is whatever his deal is. I will say though, like on the subject of saving money versus living life, like it's not necessarily a binary equation. We're allowed to like, you know, budget ourselves. Like you can put 1/8 of your you know paycheck into long-term savings, 1/8 into medium-term savings, 1/8 into short-term savings. And then you could take another 2/8 and you could use that for like emergencies and living expenses. And then you could take the last like 3 and use them for like buying cool shit, like whether it's Skittles or hookers or cocaine or sand in the desert, you know. Like there's options. We can do a little bit of all of them, and we can adjust those ratios. You know, you don't have to put 12% into each of those little categories. You could put 90% into the fun zone and 10% into the saving zone, or vice versa. Like there's some nuance to it, and everyone's probably got some different goals and things. I would just encourage people to go through the act of thinking about what is it that you want. Like, do you want to live fun now? Do you want to be broke when you're old? Like, you can't have everything, right? So it's important for people to war game out, like, what are the things that I want now? What are the things that I think I'll want later? How good have I been in the past at judging on the things that I want now, which was like, you know, my ability to guess the future and stuff. And am I going to be able to do it again or whatever? It's just like it's important to war game these things out. And just like what not Einstein, like what Eisenhower says, the act of planning is much more valuable than the plans themselves. I totally butchered that quote, but the point is like the plan's going to change, but like going through the process of thinking about this stuff, that's where the value truly lies. So that's what I had on the subject.
Good stuff. The fundamental reason why I included this quote, and I think that we're having such good conversation about this, is because in the book, Richard Hart is writing about it from an EV play or estimated value or expected value. He's making a financial judgment. And then when we have the story of the janitor who saved all that money but lived very modestly or poorly, you could say, and what he did with that, the reason he did that was a moral judgment. This is where you get into the idea of, honestly, a lot of whatever ideology or like theology or religion or creed that you live your life by, a lot of times the way that we actually exercise that turns out to be negative EV plays that we make. This is something similar you see with like political causes or community causes, which is that you are willingly making negative EV plays to drive a specific cause and purpose that is maybe not the most economically feasible or viable, but you want to see this specific thing happen in the world. So you're willing to take that hit to will it into existence. If you can also do that and have the most economical way of doing so, that's like it's the trifecta right there. That's the perfect way to do it, which is that you're now getting rewarded for putting your will into the world, and it's also existing at the same time. So that is kind of having your cake and eating it too. But when it comes to the idea of how you spend your money in your life, like Will said, do you want to spend money now? Do you want to spend money later? Do you want to be poor now? Do you want to be poor later? And at the same time, it doesn't take into account the idea that what you build here, you can theoretically pass on to other people. Whether you want to give it to your community or not, that's totally fair. I personally have been in multiple different communities, one of which actively hated me because of my profession at the time and their political beliefs. The other was super welcoming, and I absolutely love it, and I miss it. And depending on where you are can affect all these things, but it's like, who are you leaving things behind for? Is that your primary purpose? Do you want to spend money while you're young and your body can actually do the cool, fun things? Or do you want to make sure that you're not suffering at the end of your life? These are all the questions that don't really get covered by Richard Hart, because I tweeted this out earlier today, which is that I think that the SciVive excels when you're able to kind of check your ego and your preconceived notions at the door. And then Richard Hart is the guy that will help you deconstruct things in society and around us to kind of get to the root of what's going on, to either optimize or make it more efficient for you so that you can theoretically make the best positive EV play you can. But at the same time, he's not giving you a moral system that is for you to figure out on your own and then figure out how to incorporate.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead, finish off your final thought here, Jay, and then we're gonna transition.
We got
over
a lot
into
of chats.
shout outs after this. So
Yeah.
make your final points, boys, and then we're gonna go ahead and tie this button right on off. Go
Yeah.
ahead,
The
bro.
last thing I'll say on this, Will and Z, is that as you both alluded to this a little bit on when you were speaking, but you just have to know that there are consequences to every single one of your actions, right?
Bingo.
If you want to work a ton and you want to save a lot of money and you want to invest, that's fine. But then realize that tomorrow you could walk outside, get into your car, get into an accident, and lose your life, right? And the time that you spent making all of that money has, one can argue that it went to waste, where you could have spent that money on experiences, on the people that you love and care for, right? But that's a choice that you have to make, knowing that there are consequences to the choices that you're making. I think as long as you come to peace, like you're in peace with those potential consequences, then it's totally fine, right? You can be the grasshopper and live the grasshopper life, to the extreme. YOLO, right? You only live once, right? Every single time you get your paycheck, you spend it on fun things to do. You blow it all. You don't care about rent. You don't care about paying your bills. That's fine. But also know that there are consequences to those actions. I think as long as you make peace with that, then you exist in, and I would say you exist in the perfect place because you've come to peace with those actions, right? And being at peace is probably the most valuable thing one of the most valuable things that you can acquire in life, right? If you find peace in the actions that you take.
Sure.
I like it.
All right. Will, are you ready to hold up the people's favorite sign?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, it's time for chat shoutouts. You got it, fucking A right. Let's go ahead and bring up this first one right here of 19 motherfucking starred chats. My God. All right, let's see.
We had Jay from the beginning of the stream hopping in here saying, just to emphasize how low the standards are, passing GPA is 2.5 in university. I actually thought it was 2.0, so 2.5 is at least some good news.
I think it is 2.0, Z. I think I might have misquoted that. But that was in response to one of the quotes that Will said earlier, bro.
Season D.
That's insane, by the way. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Just now.
It's all relative. I was listening to somebody talk about them getting their master's degree over in Oxford, England, and they're like, yeah, the grading scale is way harsher over there, and like people don't ever get 90s. It's like unheard of, and then very, very rarely do people get scores in the 80s. But getting a 70% is still an A to them. So again, it's all relative.
Unless you're Asian. Relative. Correct. Anything under an A is a failure.
You are Asian, not Bayesian.
Yeah, if you get an A minus, ooh. Well, I don't know about this generation of
the family
born in the United States, but if you were born in in Japan and the Philippines, if you bring home anything less than an A, man, you get in the belt, you get in the chancla, you get hit with something.
Getting removed from the wheel, there will be nothing left in your name.
Yeah,
that's true. Alrighty, up next we have Anonymous Sucro from earlier, who's saying still has hella cheats static. Yeah, the cheating conversation and the morality conversation, that was pretty good. It was a bit lengthy, but I enjoyed it. Up next we got Large. He says, gentlemen, what is up? Good to see you, Large. Always a pleasure. Tam Tam was enjoying our conversation earlier. She said that she just loves Friday Night Book Club. We're glad that you enjoy it. I gotta say that I think the stream's actually going pretty popular on Twitter right now. We have about 31 people there. And then Sucro was giving me a red card earlier for my analogy of the people on the railroad track, and then he hit me with the moral relativism argument, which, I mean, I don't think anyone actually believes in moral relativism 100%, but it's a thing. Yep. Yeah, in football, there's times when a penalty is a good thing. It is, potentially. And then Paul Sachs, with regards to the nuclear weapons conversation, I'm pretty sure he said it's only close in horseshoes and hand grenades. Everything else is the gray zone.
I fucking love it.
He also asked us, is it cheating or is it strategic? And that is where I think we got into the fairness argument. We did have a good friend of the channel, Dr. Cryptos, last showed up. He said, yo, yo, yo. It was a pleasure seeing you. Again, Anonymous Sucra said, ingenuity is where strategy and innovation come in to give you an edge. Very much agreed. And then also, Mind of Tron. Glad you made it for the book club, my man. Hopefully stick around to the end. We've given you everything you were asking or hoping for. And then, yeah, Farmer Jay hit us with a Shakespeare earlier. This was, that was a good one, my man.
Yeah, fucking A right, dude.
True. And then Paul Sachs is trying to encourage everyone to live life with all the intrusive thoughts. Then we had a few folks show up. We had Tin Top, says, what's up, Hexkins? Good to see you, my man. We also had another legend, Funkmaster Hex, says, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening to you, sir. My La Croix is dead at this point, but if you got a drink, I'll cheers to you. Addie Willow, more money, more balance, Team RH, absolutely. And she also says, hello, future multimillionaires. How do you guys feel about that one?
Future?
Sure. I'll believe it when I see it.
Must be nice, Jay. Must be fucking nice.
I do like Addie's quote there. More money, more balance. Yes, if you guys are a fan of Fresh and Fit, Myron has this fantastic quote. He says, money doesn't solve all of your problems, or money doesn't buy you happiness, but it's a damn good down payment. I think there's a lot of truth to that, right? Because having a lot of money solves for a lot of the problems that most people have in life. So yeah, the more money you have, the more balance you can have.
Also, the more problems though too. So then you have to solve them on the fly.
Having bigger problems isn't necessarily a worse thing. Just means you got bigger challenges ahead of you.
Here's the thing, Nate. So generally speaking, people that are good with money are probably going to have a very high competency in problem solving in general. Right. So
see, that's the thing though. What if it's like a lottery winner? Now you've got a problem though, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just an amplifier. That's all it is.
Again,
so if you're a loser and then you get your money, it just amplifies your loserness.
Yeah, no, totally true. Totally agree. But like I said, right, in general, like there's a very small proportion of the population who come into money by pure sheer happenstance, and they're going to lose it immediately. But like, like most millionaires, I think the stat is most millionaires here in America, right? They came up doing real estate, so they're pretty good problem solvers. And they're good salespeople, so they know how to navigate people and they know how to navigate the sales landscape. So I think those people, if they come across a problem, they're going to, at the very least, they're going to give it the old college try, right, to get themselves out of that situation. But I digress.
Blockchain.
Blockchain.
The chat.
Yeah, that was from Paul Sachs.
Blockchain.
Blockchain.
We've got, I think, two more or one more chat shout outs because we just did.
We'll call it two more. I want to give a shout out to another Adi. He says, I could spend the money on experience and then a car hit me. So I guess we know which side of the line he's spending on. And then last but not least, Moondog. Love and light, brother. Good to see y'all. Yeah, he was killing it in the chat too there at the end. Really coming in hard. We have a lot of the usual suspects here tonight. This has been an awesome stream up to this point. Tell you what, Will.
Fantastic.
Let's get it going. You know the drill.
Let's get it going.
Start passing it around.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, make sure that the first thing that you do, I would normally say scan our QR code, but our QR code doesn't work. I have been informed. I don't know how long it's not been working, but that doesn't matter because we've got a new QR code now, but we can't bring it up live because I'm not really sure how that entirely works. But what we can do is we can tell you guys to go to t.me/DRT join now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a good, cool cats and kittens, and I'm going to drop that shit in the chat. And apparently my control V doesn't work. So I have to click this copy paste thing real quick, bring it on down and over. And bam, look at that. Even though I'm saying it right now and it's happening right now, you guys aren't going to hear it, and you're not going to see it until you're not going to hear it about until 7 seconds later. So anyways, that's the DGen Roundtable Telegram community chat. Hop on in there, join up, see what's going on. Give us all a message. Tell us how you're doing. If you have any super cool wins, make sure that you tag me or tag one of the other admins in there. Let us know what kind of cool things are happening. We've recently added a channel that we keep track of all our community wins. So anytime that anyone in the community does something awesome in life, whether it's like you just like clipped your dog's toenails for the first time and you're super proud of yourself, or you become a crypto billionaire, or like we saved you from a scam or something, let us know, because we like shouting out people's wins all the time. So there is that. You guys can find me at will.pls.fyi, but that's not really important right now. What is important right now is finding out where you guys can find the rest of these panelists. Mr. Zenith, tell the folks what you have coming up in the near future, and where can the folks find you?
Sir, folks can find me over on Twitter at ZenithDI, also Instagram. And if you enjoy a good meme and a little bit of the edutainment for the crypto side, check out Hex Space Force or Hexaco Space Force. Other than that, you can @ me in the DRT Telegram or the Citadel if you're also in there. So if you have any questions, hit us up. Other than that, we do have a big show coming up this Sunday. This has been a major news week. We didn't even talk about it today, but there's been a lot of price action going on, specifically for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some altcoins are looking like they're either resisting and going up, or there are other altcoins that are dumping pretty good, and there might be some decent opportunities to snag some final bags before we are off to the races. Because remember, we did have the halvening back on good old 420 or 419 if we were here in the States. So yeah, traditionally about 6 months after that is when things really start to pop off, and well, time is passing and there's no time like the present. So yeah, catch us on Sunday 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to be talking about CPI, Federal Reserve, and the markets. That's what we got. All right, Nate, where can the people find you, good sir?
Well, you can actually find me in the Telegram. And yes, this is the Ascending Man, Nate McGettit. I'm currently in New Hampshire. I am enjoying the scenery and going to be enjoying my time here. But other than that, yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and hit me up in the Telegram chat. Get in there, guys. It is an absolutely vital place for you to be able to, A, not get scammed if you really don't know what you're doing, but then also learn, so that way you can learn, you can go ahead and teach other people as well, and spread the good news, as well as, yeah, don't take lightly what Z just got done saying. This is the time where if you don't have a bag yet, now is the time you're going to be getting it, because we are about to take off. And when we do, you're going to get left behind, and then you're going to start FOMOing to green candles, and you are going to buy the top. And once you buy the top, then people like us who've been buying at the bottom are going to dump on your heads, because we are evil.
Not financial advice, but it does kind of feel like last call for the.
It really does. It really does. So heads up. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to my significant other, right there, Mrs. McGettit. Where can the people find you? What's going on?
Excuse me. I had to cough. If you want to talk to me for whatever reason, you can find me in the DGen Roundtable Telegram, which you will need to look into our description to find the link to that. And if that one doesn't work, please let me know so I can get that updated too. We will get the QR code switched as soon as I'm home and can update all of our backgrounds, because you have to like download them and do all this fancy stuff to get them back on StreamYard. So it's going to take a little bit of work, and I can't do that on my tablet, unfortunately. But yeah, that's where I'm at. If you guys want to talk, hit me up.
Yep. Excellent. I am continuously dropping the DGen Roundtable T.me link in the description, or not in the description, excuse me, in the live chat. So if you guys for some reason, if you haven't seen me drop it like one time, I've done it like 3 or 4 times now. So that is fantastic. Mr. Farmer J, where can the folks find you, my friend? And what have you got going on in the near future?
People can find me lurking in many of the Telegram chat rooms, but particularly in the DGen Roundtable chat room. What I have new, nothing. I'm just getting ready to, I'm piling up my scrap copper I have. I'm going to go sell it tomorrow. And I do feel like it's last call tomorrow. I mean, I do feel like this is the last call for kind of crypto, where we're having a nice little it's the market's still chopping around, but I think it's one of the last times we can actually make a good DCA and turn some profits on it.
Excellent. Excellent.
What
Good
do
to
I
hear,
know?
bro. Glad to hear it. Mr. Agent J, the other J that we have, where can the folks find you and what have you got going on in the near future, my friend?
Hey, as always, thank you for joining us, everybody, on this wonderful Friday night book club. And thank you to the panel and our host and co-host for letting me jump on here at the very last minute. It's been a very long and stressful week, so I figured I wanted to try and hop on here and spend some time with the gang, spend some time with the community to kind of decompress. I share Farmer Jay's sentiment. I think this is a blessing because I thought we were going to take off, and the fact that we're getting another significant dip in the market potentially to load up on more of your crypto assets that you have significant conviction in, I think is a blessing because you can't have enough crypto. One of our members, Rod Zim, in the chat spoke earlier about how quiet it has been over the past week or so in the crypto sphere. And that's what happens when prices are moving sideways and downwards, right? Most people capitulate not because of a bear market, but because they become apathetic at the sideways movement of the market and they get bored. And so don't be that person, because we are at the precipice for the most parabolic move of this bull market. And you don't want to be left behind. So keep doing what you're doing. If you're like Farmer Jay accumulating copper, if you're like me running a business, like Sam running a business, keep accumulating that dry powder, dollar cost average into the market, and we'll see you at the end because we are about there. So,
all right, Mr. Sam Stevenson, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, you can find me at Bungalows for Bachelor on Instagram at BFB Success, and you can join my private Telegram that's free, t.me/BFB. You want to learn about residential construction and have your residential problems solved, guys. I just recently dropped a new course. I would argue that it's one of my best courses. It really solves your problems. If you want some plans to do anything, you can just knock it out. It's super cheap. It's the giving to yourself kind of thing. Now, I did want to make a comment about one of the comments about intrusive thoughts. Someone said, if you just want to win every time, just listen to your intrusive thoughts. And what came to mind was that true for you, but a place you should never follow your intrusive thoughts is when you're on a cell tower or a TV tower. Bad places to follow intrusive thoughts.
100%.
Because there are a lot of them. And they're nuts, so we should not do that. But anyways, that's where people can find me, and that's what I like to say about the intrusive thoughts idea. But thank you guys for having me on, and it's been a good time, and I've enjoyed this book. So, on
the subject of books, it just so happens that my brother and I have written a fantastic cookbook called the Brothers Two of Them Cookbook, and this is the copy that is for Mr. and Mrs. McGettit, who have been so kind as to join me over here in New Hampshire. So like I said earlier, you guys can find me at will.pls.fyi. If you want a copy of this book, then head on over to that will.pls.fyi. I guess if I was a reasonable person, I would drop it in the chat. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Look at that. There's the copy and there's the paste. So head on over to will.pls.fyi if you want to get in contact with me and get a very limited edition copy of this super cool cookbook, the Tower Climbers Cookbook by the Brothers Two of Them. Then head on over there, shoot me a message on any of the platforms. Like Jay had said earlier, I want to remind you guys that we are super duper thankful that you're spending your time here. And Zenith, you're going to be our outro person for the day. So, we've got a thumbs up from Mrs. McGettit as well. Zenith, you're going to be our outro person today. So get that trigger finger ready. I want to remind all of you guys.
We are locked and loaded, Captain.
We are locked and loaded. Excellent. Sounds good. Round in the chamber. She's ready to rock and roll fire. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Whether you're catching us live on the replay or you're catching us live or on the replay, we want to thank you guys for spending your valuable time here, even though I've just repeated that 3 times. And with that, I want to remind you guys to remember to degen responsibly.